In this video, we're going to talk specifically about dimension groups and structures, and also how they can be used and where they can be used in the system. Let's jump right in and take a look at the Intacct instance here I have in front of me. And the best place to kind of look at all these in one area is going to be typically at the top level under your applications inside the reports area. And if you go in the reports area under setup, you're going to see, you're going to have, first of all, you can see all your dimensions that you have in place, along with each dimension group that can be set up for those dimensions and structures as well. And we'll talk about all three of these. So let's ask the question right away, what is a dimension group and how does it differ from an actual dimension? So in the prior videos, you've gone through and have seen some of the common dimensions inside Sage Intacct, like departments and locations and customers and vendors. And then on the construction side, you've seen projects, cost codes, and then employees in general as well. And you've seen the ability to be able to report on those dimensions in reports, put them on financial statements. But you may want to do more with those. You may want to run some more specific reporting based on characteristics of each one of those dimensions. For example, in projects, maybe you want to see different types of projects grouped together, maybe hotels versus schools. Those would be considered a dimension group. So dimension groups give you the ability to filter and condition within inside the dimension and create new, let's call them subdimensions or breakouts of that area. For example, projects or customers. Customers, you might want to see different types of customers and so forth. So we'll get into how to do that in the system. Before we do that, keep in mind if you have any further questions or details on Sage Intacct in general or dimension specific, make sure you're going into the Bangor and Ask Richard platform, which is free, and you can connect in with just an email address. If you look over here in my other tab here, you can sign up. And when you sign up, you're just going to need a name and an email address. But once you're logged in, you're going to have the ability to use an AI functionality to do, to drill in and get information about Sage Intacct and what you can and cannot do in the system. Also videos explaining it. So if we go in real quick here, and I might come into here under Try Ask Richard, and I'm just going to type in, what is a dimension group used for? And we can go ahead and it'll analyze, and it's going to return some information on that within the system. And basically, it's going to go through some of the areas that we're going to talk about today. So it's going to give you a recap of what it can be used for, filter financial reports, group standard dimensions together, which we talked about. And also it's going to point to you different various videos we have on these, including the one we're watching now, and just more information, examples, things like that, as you go throughout the system. So, throughout your Sage Intacct journey, make sure you're jumping into the AskRichard.io platform to get more additional information out of the system. Let's get back into our instance now. Let's go back to the reporting area, and I'm going to go into dimension groups. And for my first example, I'm going to go into the projects module. Now, again, if it's not construction related, you may not be using projects, but again, the same concept applies. So, how might I want to report in more detail or group my project dimension? Well, let's go into the actual project area in the system. And so you can see I have some projects set up here. So if I go into one of these, I'm going to click Edit. Dimension groups can be built and filtered on any one of these fields that are inside of the project setup screen. So you'll notice here you have a bunch of different fields. You can use project types, you can use parent project, project statuses. You'll see some of those in the system. Project managers, for example, that type of thing. So any of these fields can be used along with custom fields. So if you decide you need a different field in the system on a project, on a vendor, on a customer, you're going to be able to build a custom field in here and then use that in a filter for a dimension group. So most common used one in the projects area is this project type here. And this project type is customizable. You can build your own list. You can lock down who can add new ones. But you'll see some examples here of hotel type, restaurant, school, however you need to break out your projects within your system, along with project statuses. You might have backlog, awaiting PO, on hold. And then you'll see later on where we can use those. So let's take a look at some dimension groups that are already set up for projects. So if we go back to our reporting area and I go into dimension groups, I'm going to click on the project dimension group, and it's going to show me a list of ones that have already been set up in this instance of Sage Intacct. And you'll see here, for example, the most common one, and this one comes with the system if you have the construction edition, active projects. And what is that? It says all members here. And so if I click on edit, we can see how it was built. So we named it. We had a group type of all members. So you can either make it all and then filter on a field, or you can make it specific and just pick your members individually. That's a more manual approach. In this approach, all members allows it to be dynamic and change as you set up new projects. It's automatically adding those new projects to the group as long as you fill this field out. So here's the most important part of this. There's your fields. And you'll notice here, if I hit my drop-down list, you're going to see all the fields that we saw earlier on that project setup screen. And like I said, if you have custom fields set up here, they will show up here as well. So in this project group, it's filtering on status equals, and then you'll get a drop down of your list there. So active. So an active project group, we only want to see active projects. So as we open and close these projects, your financial reporting is going to change and just show you active projects if that's your condition on that report. And you'll notice down here you can do ands and ors and build expressions, and you can get pretty complex in the system. You will see some additional courses and videos that we have. We call them our refinement series, where we really get more granular and expand and get more complex on some of these dimension groups that you can always jump in on and learn as you go. So that one's already set up. Another example might be, a very common one might be the type of project. So I mentioned, I showed you that field. We had hotels, restaurants, schools. And so what you do here is you build a project group for each one of those types. So for example, hotels, if I click edit here, same concept, and you pick your field. So we're sorting by project type here. And then we're saying project type equals hotel. And there's your drop-down list again. So those get built out, right? Now, you'll also notice another common use would be to get reporting by project manager. So one of the fields on the project setup was the project manager, which is linked to an employee. So what you can do here is you could build project groups for each of your project manager. So again, if I hit edit, I could come in here and say project manager equals and grab my employee off my list. All right, so you'll see a good use of that in the system. So once you set up these project groups, you can now use these in your financial reporting and in your dashboards, your filtering, your reporting. You can use them all over the system. One of the other things you're going to see here is this concept of what's called a dimension structure. And a dimension structure is used specifically for the financial reports in the system. And it allows you to organize your dimensional data by these combination of structures, either by row or by columns. So if you want them to actually be built out along your rows or your columns in your financial statement report, you'll need to be set up as a dimension structure. And we'll get into that over in the financial area and show you some examples as well. You can also set these up, and you'll notice over here, these are, if I go into dimension structures, this is going to be based on a project group, right? So actually, let's go over here and take a look at this dimension structure. So if I go into projects here, and I take a look at the hotels, it can be based on a specific project group that's set up, or you have this structure type. It can also be based on what's called a hierarchy. So if you set up one as a hierarchy, you can combine groups. And what I mean by that is, let's do this. Let's say we want it based on a hierarchy of project structures. And we can say we only want to see Dennis Stanford's jobs that are hotels. And so you can add a combo of a structure within, so you can combine multiple projects. So you're going to see here, this can get really robust and complex. Typically, it's project groups, a simple structure, and you're more than good to go. So let's show you some examples. And let's start with a dashboard. So a common dashboard to take a look at would be over in dashboards here under project performance. And these dashboards can have filters turned on, and we'll give it a second for it to load up. But once it loads up, you're going to be able to use these project groups to filter on this information. So right now, we're seeing all locations, all projects as of today, and it's showing me all the projects in the system. Now, if I use these filters down here, you'll notice you can filter on individual project IDs, individual customers, individual locations, but you'll also have those project groups available to filter on here. So really quickly, I can say, just show me hotel projects. Oh, if I click it right, hotel, and then you'll hit apply. And now you have a whole new dashboard just showing you hotel projects. Okay. And then you'll notice down here, there's a by project manager, and you can see who the project manager is for each one of these hotels. Now we might want to change this up and say, let's show all projects, but actually, let's just show Doug Moffitt's projects. So you could do it by the PM, apply. So if I was Doug, I might want to have that condition on this dashboard all the time, and then I'm only going to see my projects. So these dimension groups, in this case, project dimensions, really allows for some flexible dashboard reporting for you at a click of a button here. The other common use is going to be over in General Ledger in financial reports. Now you can get to these within the General Ledger module, or you can get to them within your report center here. So if I go into report center, you'll be able to see all of your financial reports, all of your ICRW reports. And if you create them as favorites, you'll be able to pick some of the favorites, and these come out of the box here, for example. So there's a couple set up here. Let's look at project overview. And this is just your standard project overview WIP type reporting here. But if I just do it as of the end of the month, I'm going to see all my projects, but I'm actually not. This design even has a dimension group. It's using that active project dimension group already built in this design. You can see it right here. So it's not showing me closed projects. It's not showing me in progress. It's based on that dimension group called active projects. Same thing if we go and take a look at by job type. This design, and we can come into here and say as of the end of the month, I can hit OK. And this design is now showing me project, actually this would be a group structure, and it's showing me down the rows, I want to see my types broken out with job details. So restaurants, hotels, retail, warehouse. Now you can have this same type of look, but have it be across the top too. Hotels, restaurants, it depends on how you want to set up the design. I can go even further and say, well, this time I only want to see maybe particular customer or a particular project or just hotels. So I want to come into here and say, just see hotels. I like to do it by the end of the month here, click OK. And this same report now just becomes a hotel specific report. That is all with project dimensions. And just to finish off on that, let's kind of get a quick glimpse. I don't want to get too detailed here, and you will get into financial report designing. But inside the actual financial report itself, let's just give you a quick glimpse at how it's actually working. So if we go back to this project overview by type, I'm going to click edit in here. And either on the rows or the columns is where you're going to put these dimension groups. So if I go to rows here, you'll notice we're going to select a dimension structure. And notice it says dimension structure there, not dimension group. So if you want to have it built out this way in a financial statement, we need to make sure that that group is also a what's called a dimension structure. So you'll notice here, you can select which dimensions and which structures you want to be a part of this report. So maybe you don't want to see schools and tenant improvements. You could take those off and just have it restaurant, hotels, and retail. Okay, so it's basically picking your dimension, grabbing your drop-down list, and grabbing that group that we saw earlier. You might want to do the same type of report by project manager. Okay, so you can do that right here. That tells the system what to select. You can also choose to do them by columns. And you'll notice here on your columns, each one of your column headings, this isn't a great example, but each one of your column headings, you're going to be able to list your dimension groups down here. I'll see if I can find another example of that for you. Let's go take a quick look. Okay, I believe right here under the profit and loss by customer, let's take a look at this one. And we go to rows. We don't see anything special here. It's just by your quick start account groups. But on the column side, for this column, you can break it out by your dimension, customers, or your dimension structure. So how might we want to break that out? We might want to break it out by project and hotels. Okay, so forth. All right, so you can do that here, and you can have it across each column down. And I just wanted to kind of show you how that was broken out. In the same sense, you can make them specific. You know, maybe you want to schedule these to run out automatically. So you want to break them out. You want to have one that's maybe just restaurant. Sorry, I'm in the wrong area. Let's go into financial reports. And if I go down here, you'll notice same report, but now I can save it as and make it just for restaurants. So we can go ahead and schedule that out to the restaurant project managers. But you'll notice in here, the difference here is I've only picked, under columns here, I've only picked the restaurant structure. Okay, that's kind of how you can do it there. So we'll do one final example, and let's go ahead and set up a dimension group. And in this example, let's go ahead and take a look at our customers, because maybe we want to group our customers by type and see what type of customer is more profitable for us. So for example, let's go into Try Tech. And if I go into that customer setup and I take a look at additional information, you'll see here I have some different types of customers. I have service, owner, public sector, and so forth. So what we can do is we can go build out some dimension groups. So let's go over to reports. Now, you can do these in each of the modules. So for example, if I'm in accounts receivable and I want to do stuff with customers, I can go into setup and also get to the groups from here. These are your dimension groups right here for customers. So you can get into it and you can apply security just to this area. Okay, and you'll see there's one for active customers, right? Or you can go into reports and do what we did earlier under setup, go to your dimension groups or dimension structures. And I'm going to go ahead and add one for customer right there. Same list. All right. So let's go ahead and add. And let's call it service customers. Okay. Service. I'm just going to keep it simple here. We're going to filter it off all members. We want to sort ascending. And what do we want to sort it off of? I want to sort it off of maybe the company name, customer name. So you can do that. And let's go ahead and make it a dimension structure just in case we need it over on the financial statements. So I'm going to come into here and I want to filter on the type. So you probably can, you can best fit it. But I like to kind of just scroll through it and see where it is here, because sometimes it's not necessarily in order. And it looks like I don't see a type here. What was it called? So let's go over and take a look at there it is, customer type ID, okay? And we'll say equals to, and I only want service. All right, save. And now what's nice about that is you can duplicate. So if I want to come into here, and now I want to duplicate it, and let's make one for owner. And then I could just come down to here, it fills all that stuff in, and I could do owner. All right, so you could keep going there. So then what I could do is go over to General Ledger, go to Financial Reports, And let's go into this customer one. And let's edit it. And let's duplicate it. And you're definitely, when you're building out some designs, try and save them as, duplicate them, keep the original ones as is. This way, if you need to revert back to them, you can. But let's go duplicate, and we'll just call it P&L by customer type. Hit OK. And now I have a P&L by customer type on my menu. I can click Edit. And in this scenario, I'm going to make, let's make these, let's see if we can do this on the, nope, let's do this down the top, because this is an account one. So let's come into here and let's make a dimension structure. You'll just click on this column and say for customer. And I want to see, oh, and I didn't make, you notice how only one shows up there? Because I didn't make that other one, the owner one, a dimension structure. So I forgot to do that. I would have to go fix that. But in this case, let's just add service. Okay. And then what you have the ability to do here is add more columns. So you can add a column to the right and then make your owner, your public sector, make them all down the left, down the right there. I'm just going to hit save. And I believe my data is in 2023. So I'm going to go back to my financial reports and I'm going to run this by customer type, HTML, and I'm going to pick a date in 2023 because this one is just showing current year. So let's just go December 2023. Okay. You could do a condition. You could do additional filtering on these. Hit OK. See if we get anything. And we don't get anything because I probably don't have anything for that customer as of that date. Let's try it again because I think it didn't save the date. Let me try one more time. See if that worked. Nope. Okay. So that just means that there's no service customers with data in 2023. But that's kind of the idea, and that's how it works within the system from there. So just to recap, the main takeaway from this video is to know that you have this power and this capability to get these additional reportings built out by these dimension groups. And you don't necessarily have to set them all up day one. You can get into deployment, set up some basic dimensions, get some data in the system, and start kind of figuring out how you might want to get some additional reporting built out in the system. So the most important thing now is know that you're going to be able to expand on it, and you don't need to go in and set up this complex dimension for departments or locations or anything like that, because you're going to be able to use those dimension groups for additional reporting and filtering needs within Sage Intacct. Thank you.